What's going on, everyone? Dottz Gaming here, and today I'm bringing you guys my top 10 new player tips for ESO in 2021. These are just going to be some quick fire tips to kind of help you get started in the game. If you do want something a bit more long form, I do have a complete beginner guide here on my YouTube channel that goes over everything you could possibly want to know to get into ESO. Link in the description below. But for this video, like I said, I just want to cover some quick fire tips that I have for newer players starting this year. ESO can feel very overwhelming when you first get into the game, but hopefully these tips will help make things a little bit easier. But guys, before we get into the video today, I do just want to thank the sponsor of today's video, Monster Legends. Monster Legends is a free-to-play game available on both Android and iOS, and in this game you can collect, breed, combine, and fight with all of your different monsters that you have at your disposal. And guys, if you actually do download the game through the link in the description below, you can get a special reward box worth $30 that has 50,000 food, the epic monster Kaori, and 300,000 gold. Now, in this game, there are hundreds of different monsters to collect. You can find many of your favorite YouTubers in the Monster Legends as well, such as Dream, Lazar Beam, Mr. Beast, and many others. Now, if you breed multiple monsters together, you can actually create new ones. You can feed your monsters to take them into battle and fight against NPCs or even your friends, because there are different PvP modes, such as special dungeons and an adventure map. And when you fight against your friends, you will be fighting in real time. Now, in Monster Legends, there are events every week to give you a more chance to discover and play new adventures, and it'll always give you something to do in game. And again, guys, if you do want to start off the game on the right foot, you can download the game through my link in the description below, and you can get a special reward box, again, worth $30 that contains 50,000 food, the epic Kaori monster, as well as 300,000 gold. Now, without further ado, let's get into the rest of the video. And kicking things off with our first tip is going to be one that I always recommend to new players when starting out, because it is easy to not follow this, and it is do not get caught up in endgame builds when starting. It's of course a huge mistake that I made when I first started. You know, you first start playing and you hear all the stuff about builds and you want to start researching them and try to know what's best and what to look at. And honestly, I don't really recommend it. As a new player, you kind of don't really know if a end game build is going to be good or bad, or why people use things, because you're new. You don't really know a lot about the game. So what I recommend doing is, if you go to my website, dottsgaming.com, I do have leveling builds to help you get started in the game. And my leveling builds are a bit different than other people's. They're not strict. They're very fluid. They're very flexible. And with them, you're going to see a long list of skills, and they're all skills that you can choose from, good options that you could use, so that you can kind of experiment with things and see how certain skills for your class work to really start learning the game. But like I said, it can be very easy to get caught up in those end game builds when you're starting, but I recommend not doing that. Try to learn the basics of the game first, because buildcraft is a very intricate art. It's a lot to it, and there's no need to overwhelm yourself with that information when you are brand new. My second big tip is, do not waste money on gear while you are leveling. Use it on your bank bags and horse instead. You will be getting gear so quickly while you level, from doing dungeons while you level up, to maybe if you do some BGs, you get a little bit of gear from that. You got rewards from quests. There's really no need to waste your money on a set of leveling gear. Plus, everything scales anyway, so you don't really need to go crazy getting your gear. Instead, you should spend your gold on 3 different things. Upgrading your bank size, which you can do if you go to a banker. You can upgrade the size of your bank storage. Same thing with your bag space. There's bag merchants in major towns that you could upgrade your bag size. And once every, I think, 20 hours, you're able to go to a stable master once you actually have a mount, which you do get through the level up rewards. And you're able to level up your horse. So you're able to increase its speed, its stamina, which is how long it can sprint. And you can even give yourself additional bag size through the horse training, which is pretty cool. So that's really all you need to spend your money on when you're a new player. Otherwise, save your money. My third tip is going to be to always interact with bookshelves. Bookshelves have a chance, when you interact with them, to give you a random skill increase on one of your different skill lines. So when you're leveling and you come across the bookshelf, it's really, really nice to be able to read those, because it will save you some experience along the way. My fourth tip is going to be to start researching gear traits as soon as possible. If you want to learn a little bit more about this system, I do have a complete crafting guide on my YouTube channel. I'll also link that in the description below. But long story short, gear in the Elder Scrolls Online has stuff on it called traits. These traits give you some passive bonuses, from the ability to have more resistance, to increasing the potency of your Mundus Stone, to making it so that you can sprint for longer periods of time. It's just some passive bonuses that come on your gear. And when you want to actually craft gear that has these bonuses, you need to have researched the specific trait that you're trying to craft the gear on. So basically what you want to do is anytime you get a piece of gear that you can research, you can go to a crafting table that it corresponds with that piece's type, and then you can research that trait, which will destroy the item in the process, but that character that you're playing on will know that trait, so that in the future, when you want to craft gear, you can craft those traits. Now, you might be asking, well, Dottz, why should I start that as right off the gate as a new player? It's because this research takes time, and as you get higher and higher with the number of traits that you have researched, the time to research them will take exponentially longer. So starting this right off the bat, especially because you have 7 different gear slots, 3 different weights, you have you have light armor, medium armor, and heavy armor, you have jewelry, you have weapons. There's a lot of traits to research. So it is highly recommend to get started with it as soon as possible. My 5th tip is going to be to complete 1 random dungeon and or battleground every single day. You get a nice boost to experience from doing these things. You can also get some gear. You get some other rewards sent to your mail through like extra rewards you get for completing the first one a day. So it's just a good habit to get into, to be able to get some extra rewards and bonus experience while you're leveling up. And plus, it does kind of break things up if you're just like questing or grinding or whatever. It does kind of break things up and give you something a bit different to do. Now, my 6th tip is to always grab sky shards and kill public dungeon and bosses. So sky shards, I'm sure if you've completed the tutorial, you will have learned this already. Sky shards are the vehicle in which you can gain skill points. So by collecting 3 sky shards around the map, you will be able to gain a skill point. And so it's important to pick these up throughout your adventure so that you have enough skill points for your character's skills, skill morphs, and passive abilities. Now, it's also important, if you want to gain additional skill points, to kill public dungeon bosses. Now, public dungeons are shown by this icon on the map, and if you go into the dungeon and kill the final boss of that public dungeon, you will automatically be rewarded 1 skill point. Plus, inside of every public dungeon, there is a sky shard. So throughout your adventures, be sure to venture into these, as they will heavily increase the amount of skill points you have when you reach the end game. So very, very useful to do while you're leveling. My 7th tip is to level up alchemy on every single character. Again, if you do check out my complete crafting guide, I do talk about how to level up alchemy really, really quickly. Alchemy can be leveled in literally 20 minutes, assuming you have enough gold to buy some materials, which it really isn't too terribly expensive. But the reason that alchemy is so important to level up, because you do not have to do crafting on every single character. Typically, most people will do a lot of their crafting on whoever their first character is, just because while you're leveling up that first character, you do all of your research. But regardless, alchemy should be leveled on every single character, because it does have a direct influence on combat. If you can see through the medicinal use passive, which gives you an increased duration on your potion effects. And when you get to the end game, potion effects are extremely important for end game character builds. And if you do not have this medicinal use passive leveled up all the way, you will not have 100% uptime on many important potion buffs. Your uptime will be way less than 100%, which makes it very suboptimal. So be sure to level up alchemy on every character. My 8th tip is to deconstruct and not vendor gear and enchants that you do not need to either wear for character power or research while leveling. You don't really get that much gold, honestly, from vendoring gear. It doesn't really serve that much of a purpose as a new player. And because, again, you're new, you don't have this reservoir of materials built up, it's better to deconstruct gear and enchants instead, because when you deconstruct them, you will gain materials while also leveling your crafting lines. And as a new player, you're going to have no crafting experience, you're going to have no materials. And so by deconstructing these things as you level up, you'll be able to start building up your reservoir of crafting materials so that eventually when you do reach the end game, you will have a lot of crafting materials at your disposal to actually use to craft things. So definitely a nice tip to follow. My 9th tip is going to be to pick up the Fighters Guild, the Mages Guild, and the Undaunted immediately. These are 3 base game guilds that come with just the regular version of ESO, but the reason they're all important to pick up is because they are very much related to character power. They have a lot of good active skills, they have a lot of good passive, so it's really important to pick these up. You can find the Fighter and Mages Guild in the hometown of whatever faction you're on. So that's going to like the starter hometown. That's going to be Daggerfall for the Daggerfall Covenant, Volkel Guard for the Aldemary Dominion, and Davin's Watch for the Ebonheart Pact. And if you look for these icons on your map, you can go to those guilds, simply talk to the the people there and say, hello, I would like to join the Fighters Guild, or I'd like to join the Mages Guild, and then they will let you in. The Undaunted takes an extra step if you have to go to the one of the inns in those towns that I just mentioned, and you're going to see a bunch of people sitting around a table drinking mead, and there's going to be a guy with a quest marker. You just simply talk to him and say, hello, I'd like to join the Undaunted. He's going to tell you to go beat a dungeon. You simply have to go do that, come back, and then bada bing, bada boom, you're part of the Undaunted. And if you want to see a guide on how to actually level up these skill lines, I also, again, have a guide on my YouTube channel to show how to level these 3 guilds up. So feel free to go check that out. And then my 10th and final tip for this video, guys, is going to be to complete the base game main quest on every character. The reason that this is important is because this quest line does level up your soul magic line, which is one of the skill lines that you have. On top of that, every single time you beat one of these quests, you do gain a skill point, and the quest line gives a boatload of experience. So it really does allow you to not only level up your character quicker, you get skill points, you level up a skill line. It's just very valuable to do. The quest line's pretty interesting too. If you want to see the base game story, I do recommend completing it, and it is just a good thing to do. But guys, on that note, I do think that's going to be it for me today. Just some 10 quick fire tips on getting started in the Elder Scrolls Online. So hopefully you guys did find this helpful. And like I said, check out all of those resources that I mentioned in the video. They will all be linked in the description below to make it nice and easy for you to access those. That is going to be it for me today, guys. If you did find this video helpful, I would appreciate if you smacked a like on it. If you have any questions or comments about this, feel free to leave one below. And of course, guys, subscribe to keep up to date with all of the ESO and other MMORPG content I put out here on my YouTube channel. And again, do not forget to download Monster Legends using the link in the description below. Appreciate some time out of your day today. Thank you very much. As always, I'm Dottz Gaming, and I'll see you all next time.